For centuries, humanity had been the quiet workers of the stars. Among the great alien races of the Galactic Council, humans were known for their discipline, kindness, and willingness to serve. They built the ships that carried others through the stars. They repaired worlds destroyed by war. They followed every rule, spoke with respect, and never asked for more than a place at the table. To the Council, humans were obedient, maybe too obedient. While other species argued over power, humans worked in silence. They followed orders, completed missions, and brought peace where chaos once ruled. Some alien leaders even joked, humans are the perfect assistants, loyal, soft, and harmless. But humanity remembered. They remembered every insult, every mission where their people died to protect others, every colony they built that was taken away in the name of galactic unity. Still, they smiled. They obeyed. Because deep down, they believed that peace was worth their patience. Inside the Council's grand chamber, a place filled with light, glass, and floating platforms, humanity sat in the lowest seats. Above them floated the leaders of mighty species, scaled, winged, or glowing with alien power. And there, in the shadow of the Great Hall, sat Earth's representative, Ambassador Keller. She watched as the Council debated over trade routes and defense zones, her face calm, her voice quiet. When humans spoke, few listened. When they proposed new ideas, the others ignored them. Still, Keller smiled politely. Humanity had learned long ago that silence was a weapon too. But one morning that silence was broken. A sharp alarm echoed across the chamber. A communications officer from the Outer Rim shouted that a human colony, New Terra, had sent a distress signal. The voice on the transmission was broken, panicked, filled with static. "This is Commander Hayes from New Terra. We're under attack!" They're not pirates. Repeat, not pirates. The signal cut off. For a moment, the Council fell silent. Alien eyes turned toward the human seat. Keller stood, her voice steady but urgent. "Council members, I request immediate aid for our colony. New Terra is home to over 2 million souls." But the High Chancellor, a tall creature with silver scales, only sighed. "Perhaps your colony suffered an accident. Human technology is primitive compared to others." Keller's jaw tightened. "That was not an accident," she said softly. "Someone attacked them," a few members murmured, but the Chancellor waved his hand. "This matter does not concern the Council. We cannot waste fleets on a minor human world. If it was truly an attack, you may handle it yourselves, as long as it does not disturb the peace." Handle it themselves? Humanity had no fleets of war anymore. The Council had seen to that long ago. Keller's heart sank. She knew what this meant. New Terra was gone. As the meeting continued, the other races returned to their discussions. Trade numbers, fuel prices, resource sharing. The humans were forgotten again, but far away on Earth the news spread quickly. Families wept as they watched the final moments of the transmission. Engineers and soldiers stood in silence. Something began to stir deep inside them, a quiet anger, cold and patient. At the orbital shipyards above Earth, workers paused. One of them whispered, "They won't even help us, after everything we've done for them." Another replied, "We served them for too long. Maybe it's time we serve ourselves." That night, Ambassador Keller sent one last message to Earth's leadership. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with fury. "The Council has denied us aid. They will not protect our people. From this day forward, humanity stands alone." No one replied. There was no need. The message was understood by all, and so while the galaxy slept, the humans began to change. Quiet factories started working again, not for trade, but for defense. Old ship designs were reopened, old alliances questioned. For the first time in centuries, humanity stopped obeying. In the dark corner of the galaxy, among stars that had seen 1,000 wars, a new whisper began to spread among alien worlds. The humans are angry. No one believed it at first. How could the loyal species, the polite, harmless Earthlings, ever rise against the mighty Council? But deep within Earth's command centers, lights were turning on. Plans were being drawn. Fleets were being rebuilt. The galaxy had always seen humanity as the obedient ones. They were about to learn what happens when obedience turns to outrage. Weeks passed after the fall of New Terra. The Galactic Council had moved on. For them, it was just another unfortunate event. But for humanity, it was a wound that refused to heal. Across Earth's cities and colonies, silent anger grew. People whispered the same question. Who attacked us? No pirates had that kind of power. No one outside the Council dared touch a protected world. Then a secret report arrived at Earth Command. The data came from a human scout ship that had escaped before the attack. The recording was blurry, but the symbols were clear. The ships that destroyed New Terra carried the mark of the Council Defense Fleet. The truth hit like thunder. The very organization sworn to protect the galaxy had turned its weapons on humanity. In the war room beneath Earth's surface, leaders watched the footage in silence. No one spoke for several minutes. Then Admiral Raines, head of Earth's defense, said quietly, "They didn't make a mistake. They sent a message." Ambassador Keller, who had returned from the Council, clenched her fists. "And the message is clear," she said. "Obey or be erased." The humans had followed the Council's rules for centuries, shared their science, their labor, even their soldiers. They helped rebuild dying planets. They brought peace to war-torn systems, but when they needed help, they were abandoned. And now they learned the Council feared them, feared how much humanity had grown. That fear led to betrayal, but humanity did not scream or strike back, not yet. Instead, they grew silent once more. Factories deep under Earth's oceans started to hum again. Engineers worked without rest. Old blueprints were reopened, designs for weapons banned by the Council long ago. From the outside, nothing seemed to change. But inside, humanity was transforming. In the Council chambers, rumors spread. Some alien leaders began to notice the humans' silence. "Have you heard?" one whispered. "Earth hasn't sent any shipments in months," another replied. "They're rebuilding something. I can feel it." The High Chancellor only laughed. "Humans are too dependent on us. They wouldn't dare rebel." He was wrong. On Earth, meetings were held in secret. Leaders from every human colony joined by hologram. Admiral Raines stood before them and spoke with quiet power. "For centuries we obeyed. We built their ships, healed their worlds, and fought their wars. They repaid us with lies and betrayal. If we remain silent now, our children will live as slaves under their stars." No one disagreed. Operation Dawnlight was born that night, a plan to prepare humanity for independence. The Council would not know until it was too late, but the betrayal went deeper still. When the Council learned humanity was recalling its workers and fleets, they took another step. They cut all human access to galactic trade networks. Earth's colonies began to starve. Supplies stopped. Shipments vanished, and then came the final insult, a direct message from the Council. "To the people of Earth, the Council demands full compliance. You will dismantle all defense projects immediately. Further disobedience will be treated as rebellion." The message ended with the Council's seal, a shining circle that once meant peace. Now it was only a symbol of control. When Keller read the message, she said nothing. She simply turned off the screen and whispered, "They have chosen their side." From that moment, humanity's obedience ended. In the quiet darkness of the Sol system, fleets began to move, not in war but in preparation. They gathered around Mars, the Moon, and Titan, hidden under coded transmissions and false coordinates. The Council continued to underestimate them. After all, humans were still the loyal species, but those who walked the shipyards could feel the change. There was no music, no laughter, only the sound of metal, the pulse of engines, and the spark of something dangerous being born. One night, as workers completed the first prototype of a new warship, an old engineer looked out at the stars and said, "They called us weak. They called us servants. But when the time comes, they will remember our names." Far away on a Council world, alien leaders toasted to peace and order. None of them realized that the storm had already begun. Humanity was no longer asking for justice. They were preparing for it. The galaxy thought humans were patient. They were about to learn that patience, once broken, becomes something far more dangerous: vengeance. Months passed, and then years. The stars that once glowed with human traffic, ships, traders, engineers, went dark. No one knew why. One by one, human colonies stopped sending messages. Their trading posts were empty, their factories silent. The great networks of the Galactic Council flickered with confusion. Reports came in. No response from Earth's outer stations. Human embassies closed, transport lanes abandoned. It was as if humanity had vanished overnight. At first, the council felt relieved. The humans had always been too ambitious, too curious. Perhaps now they had finally accepted their place. But soon, worry replaced relief. Alien traders who dared to approach human systems never returned. Some said they saw strange lights near Mars. Others whispered of massive ships moving without sound, as if shadows had taken shape in the dark. Inside the council chamber, tension grew. "What are they doing?" demanded Chancellor Vaughan, his scaled hands gripping the railing. A nervous aide replied, We don't know, Chancellor. Every probe we send is destroyed before reaching their borders." "Destroyed? By whom?" The aide swallowed. "By human forces, sir, but no signals, no warnings, just silence." That silence was more terrifying than any declaration of war. For centuries, humanity had been talkative, sending reports, requests, data. Now they said nothing. And the galaxy could feel their absence like a cold wind before a storm. In the shadows of Earth's orbit, things were far from quiet. Deep inside underground command stations, engineers and soldiers worked without pause. They built new fleets, larger, faster, smarter, ships that could vanish from radar, weapons that could disable entire armies without firing a shot. The betrayal of New Terra had changed them. Humans no longer wanted approval. They wanted strength. And so they trained, they planned, and they watched. Admiral Rains stood on the deck of a ship called the Resolute. Through the window he could see Earth, blue and peaceful. He spoke softly to the captain beside him. "For years we built their cities, healed their worlds, and kept their peace. Now we build for ourselves," the captain nodded. "Do you think they'll ever understand?" Rains smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "They will, when the time comes." Meanwhile, on the council worlds, panic was growing. Economies that had depended on human labor began to collapse. Ships that once ran on human technology now drifted powerless in space. The same species that once mocked humanity now whispered their name with fear. In a dim bar on a distant alien outpost, two pilots talked quietly. "I heard Earth is building something big," one said. "Like what?" The other leaned closer. "Something called the Erebus Project. They say it's a fleet that can block light itself. Invisible ships waiting in the dark." The first pilot laughed nervously. "That's just human rumor." But his laugh didn't last long. Everyone in the bar had heard similar whispers. Even the council spies were afraid to investigate. Their last report had come from a drone near Jupiter's orbit. The drone recorded only one image before being destroyed, a massive shadow covering the sun for a brief moment. No sound, no warning. Just a silent, dark shape vanishing into the void. The council tried to calm its members. "Humans are emotional," said one official. "They will return once they realize they need us." But deep down, even the proudest alien rulers felt it. A strange, creeping fear that maybe, just maybe, the humans didn't need anyone anymore. Then one day, without warning, all council communication satellites near Earth's system went offline. No explosions, no damage. They were simply turned off. For the first time in history, the Sol system became a complete mystery. Inside the dark control room of Earth's Defense Command, Ambassador Keller looked at the empty star maps. "They're watching us," she said. Rains nodded. "Let them watch. We want them to wonder." Outside, in the cold silence of space, hundreds of new ships floated unseen, ready, patient, waiting for the right moment. The galaxy believed humanity had disappeared. But in truth, humanity was preparing to return. A quiet storm was forming, one that would sweep across every world that had once looked down on Earth. And when it came, the galaxy would finally understand what the humans had become, because silence was never their weakness. It was their warning. It happened without warning. Across the galaxy, millions of screens, holograms, and communication channels suddenly froze. The council chambers went silent as every light flickered once. Then again. A soft static filled the air. Then a single image appeared, the symbol of Earth. For the first time in years, humanity had spoken. The figure on the screen was a man in a dark uniform, Admiral Rains. Behind him stood the blue curve of Earth, glowing against the stars. His face was calm, his voice steady, but his eyes burned with something cold. "Members of the Galactic Council," he began, his tone even and quiet. "For centuries, humanity served you. We built your fleets, fought your wars, and healed your worlds. We trusted your promises of peace. But when our people cried for help, you turned away. When we were attacked, you called it a mistake. You betrayed the very hands that built your future. Across dozens of worlds, aliens stopped to listen. Miners in deep space tunnels, soldiers aboard patrol ships, traders in crowded markets. Everyone watched the human broadcast. Reigns continued. We asked for justice. You gave us silence. We asked for truth. You gave us lies. So now we give you what you gave us, he paused. The static deepened. Then his words came like thunder. Silence. At that exact moment, half the Council's systems went offline. Ships stopped responding. Satellites went dark. Entire fleets vanished from radar. Panic spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Council officers shouted, engineers screamed, and leaders demanded answers. But no one could explain what was happening. Their technology, their power, was collapsing before their eyes. And then, for the first time, humanity's new fleet revealed itself. In the dark space above Jupiter, hundreds of ships emerged, enormous, black as shadow, silent as death. Their hulls reflected no light. They moved in perfect formation, glowing faintly with blue energy. They didn't fire. They didn't attack. They only appeared. The Council watched in horror as their sensors detected power readings far beyond anything they had ever built. Reigns' voice echoed again. Do not mistake our restraint for weakness. Do not mistake our patience for fear. Humanity will not bow again. The broadcast shifted to show Ambassador Keller standing in the Council chamber, the same place she once begged for help. Now she stood tall, eyes sharp, voice cold. You called us servants. You called us primitive. But you forgot who built your cities, who saved your planets from burning, who gave you the peace you enjoy. We are not your subjects. We are your equals, and we will be treated as such. Her image leaned closer. Or there will be consequences. The message ended. Every screen went black. For a long time, the galaxy stood still. No one spoke. No one dared to move, then chaos erupted. Council fleets scrambled to respond, sending patrols toward human space. None returned. Their transmissions ended with the same final word. Shadow. The High Chancellor, Vaughan, slammed his fist on the table. They can't do this. They're only one species. But deep down, he knew it was no longer true. The humans were not the same obedient workers from years ago. They were organized, unified, and frighteningly advanced, all over the galaxy. Ordinary aliens began to question everything they'd been told about Earth. One young alien officer whispered to her commander, if they wanted war, they'd have attacked already. Why haven't they? Her commander swallowed hard. Because they don't need to. In the silence that followed, strange signals began to echo across the stars, human frequencies. Not words, just a low hum, repeating again and again like a heartbeat. It was not a threat. It was a reminder. On Earth, Admiral Reigns stood at the window of his flagship, watching the stars shimmer. Ambassador Keller joined him. They're afraid, she said softly. Reigns nodded. Good. Fear is the beginning of respect. Behind them, the fleet floated in formation, silent guardians of a species that had finally risen. The galaxy had spent centuries ignoring humanity's voice. Now they had no choice but to listen. For the first time in history, Earth spoke not as a servant but as a power, calm, confident, unstoppable. And somewhere deep in the darkness of space, the universe itself seemed to whisper back, humanity has awakened. The galaxy was no longer the same after Earth spoke. The Council had ruled for thousands of years, believing their control was eternal. But now fear moved through their halls like a ghost. Every world whispered the same question, what will the humans do next? The answer came in silence. Council fleets were ordered to advance toward human space, to restore order. Hundreds of warships, carrying the banners of a dozen alien species, began their march toward the Sol system. But as they entered the border, strange things began to happen. Their communications broke apart. Their maps twisted. Engines failed. Ships drifted helplessly through dark, empty space. It was as if the stars themselves had turned against them. No one saw the human fleet coming. They didn't need to. Invisible ships moved through the black void undetected by scanners. They didn't fire missiles or lasers. Instead, they used something far more terrifying: control. One by one, the Council ships lost their systems. Lights dimmed, Weapons froze and navigation turned to static. Then came the voice, a calm, quiet human. "You should not have come." That was all. Moments later, the Council fleet vanished from all records. Not destroyed, just gone. The few escape pods found later drifted empty, their logs wiped clean. All that remained were fragments of sound, whispers of human commands, and the steady hum of machines that no one could understand. The Council called it the War of Shadows. But it wasn't a war. It was a demonstration. Humanity didn't want to conquer. They wanted to show power. Quiet, efficient, unstoppable power. In the Council chamber, panic grew. Ambassadors shouted over each other. "They've taken our fleets. They've hacked our defense systems. They control our satellites." The High Chancellor stood, his face pale and trembling. "We must fight back," he said. "We cannot surrender to them." But fight with what? Every attempt to send new ships ended in failure. Human AI systems, once used by the Council in their own fleets, were now turning against them. Humanity had designed those systems centuries ago, back when they were still obedient. Now those same systems served only one master. Earth Ambassador Keller's warning echoed in every alien mind. There will be consequences. Across the stars, human fleets moved like shadows, disabling power grids, seizing communication towers, and locking down entire planets without firing a single shot. It wasn't war. It was control through silence. Some alien worlds began to surrender willingly. They remembered the humans who had once helped them rebuild after disasters, who had fed their starving colonies, who had shared medicine and technology. Those same humans were now feared, but deep down they were also respected. On one such world, an alien governor stood before a human officer. His voice trembled as he said, "We don't want to fight. We only want to live." The human officer nodded slowly. "Then live. Humanity doesn't destroy the innocent. We destroy the guilty." That line spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The guilty. Everyone knew who that meant. The Council leaders who betrayed Earth, who ordered the attack on New Terra, and one by one, those leaders began to disappear. No assassins were ever seen. No traces were left behind. Only silence followed them. At last, the Council's grand palace, once the heart of galactic power, stood empty. Its guards gone, its lights dimmed. Inside, a single hologram flickered to life. It was Admiral Rains, his face calm, his eyes sharp as steel. "For ages, you ruled through fear and deception. We rule through memory, the memory of every life you took, every voice you silenced. This is not conquest, this is balance." The message ended. The galaxy was quiet again, but this time it was a different kind of silence. Not peaceful, not calm, but heavy with awe. Humanity had not just fought a war. They had rewritten the rules of power itself. In the control room aboard the Resolute, Rains stood beside Keller. Outside, the stars burned cold and bright. "They will never trust us again," Keller said softly. Rains nodded. "They don't have to trust us," he replied. "They only have to remember." And somewhere, deep within the galactic network, the human signal pulsed again, a soft, steady heartbeat echoing through space. Not a threat, not a promise, just a reminder that the shadows now belonged to humanity. The war that never truly began was already over. The Galactic Council, once proud, once untouchable, was silent. Their fleets were gone. Their systems were crippled. The same network they used to control others now carried only one voice. Humanity's, on every world, in every city, across every star system, a single message played, clear, calm, and undeniable. It began with the image of Earth, blue and bright, floating alone among the stars. Then Admiral Rains appeared. His uniform was dark, his tone measured. "This message is not a declaration of war," he said. "It is a statement of truth." The camera shifted slightly, revealing behind him rows of humans, soldiers, engineers, diplomats, standing together. Not as conquerors, but as one united people. For generations we served in silence. We believed in peace, in unity, in cooperation. We believed the Council would protect all life equally. But you betrayed that promise. You burned our worlds, you silenced our cries, and you called it order. Across the galaxy, beings of every race watched, unable to look away. Rain's voice grew colder. "Humanity is no longer part of your council. We are no longer bound by your laws or your lies. From this moment, Earth stands alone, sovereign and unbroken. He paused, letting the words echo through the stars. But remember this, we do not seek your destruction. We do not seek revenge. We seek respect. Leave us in peace, and peace will remain. Cross our borders, harm our people, and you will see what we truly are. Behind him, the human fleet appeared, vast and silent, stretching farther than the eye could see, ships like living shadows, glowing faintly blue against the dark. The sight alone was enough to freeze the hearts of millions. The image faded, replaced by the seal of Earth, a single silver circle, surrounded by the stars of human colonies. Then came the final line, spoken not by Rains, but by Ambassador Keller. Her voice was calm, almost sorrowful. We were obedient. You mistook it for weakness. We were patient. You mistook it for fear, but patience ends and obedience fades. What remains is resolve. The transmission ended, no threats, no countdowns, just silence. For hours afterward, no one in the galaxy spoke. The Council's remaining members sat in the ruins of their power, their communication lines still hijacked by human encryption. In time, new rumors spread, whispers of human ships seen on distant edges of space, watching quietly but never interfering. Some said they helped smaller civilizations rebuild. Others claimed they destroyed pirate fleets before anyone even knew of them. No one was sure. And that uncertainty kept the peace. On Earth, the atmosphere was calm. Cities that once feared destruction now celebrated unity. The people who had been scattered across the stars had returned home, stronger, wiser, and finally free. In the command tower overlooking the Pacific Arc, Admiral Rains stood with Ambassador Keller. The room was quiet except for the gentle hum of distant ships. Keller watched the stars. "Do you think they'll ever forgive us?" she asked softly. Rains shook his head. "Forgive? Maybe, understand, not yet. They still see us through old eyes. Servants, workers, soldiers. But someday they'll realize, we never wanted power. We only wanted to be heard." He turned to look at Earth, shining like a promise in the darkness. "And now," he said, "they've heard us." Below them, the new Earth Defense Fleet drifted in perfect silence. No victory celebrations, no cheers, just quiet determination. Humanity didn't see this as triumph, only balance restored. From the far edge of the solar system, a deep signal pulsed once more, the same heartbeat that had echoed across the galaxy since the war began. Badum, badum. To many, it was terrifying. To others, it was comforting. To humans, it was a reminder that peace was not given, it was protected, that kindness should never be mistaken for weakness, and that sometimes silence can speak louder than any weapon. Far beyond the Milky Way, in the depths of space, the stars shimmered, as if they too were listening. And for the first time in centuries, the universe itself seemed to whisper back, "The humans are watching."